would say, if I was looking at the first paragraph, the XXX from DHgate Resolution Centre, I would like to sincerely apologise. Using specify, stretch, summarise, removing all negative. First thing, specify. Specify what you like. I really like the fact that this person has used their name, okay? They've taken ownership straight away. They've told the customer who they are and where they're from. Okay, this is really good. Specify, really like that. Okay, who they are, where they're from. They're building ownership and rapport. As the stretch, the bit where we could improve it to make it even better, I would say that I think it would be even better if we said, if we used more positive words in the next sentence. Okay?
How about I'm taking care of the kids, your client?
That's fun. That's perfect. I'm taking, because that's reaffirmation. But the important bit is the fact that we specified there. We said, we told this person how they could improve. Okay? So instead of saying, I'm going to remove it, we've said, it could be made even better by using positive language. So what you could do, I mean, we could switch this sentence, we would like to sincerely apologise for the negative experience that you have had with our company. Okay? We're not going to apologise because we don't know yet. We don't know all the problems. Okay? We're certainly not going to say negative experience because that's throwing a negative frame. We could just turn it around by saying, dear, this is whoever from DHgate Resolution Centre. I hope that you are enjoying your time with DHgate. Okay? So we're not apologising there because we don't know what to apologise for if there is anything, but we don't apologise anyway. We remove the negative bit and we say we hope you're enjoying. We hope that you're having a nice time with us at DHgate. You're automatically framing it to be positive, even though it's a dispute. There's nothing wrong with you hoping that somebody is having a nice time.
Moses.
Yes.
If we say that word in the beginning, in the first place, in the beginning, we think it is not good for us to communicate with the buyer about it.
In what? Sorry, which bit?
Your word said we hope you have an enjoyable time in DHgate. We think it is in the last paragraph, not in the beginning.
Why?
Because this is a dispute order.
Yeah.
If you say that the buyer, they are angry about the order, if we say that, the buyer will say, I have not an enjoyable time in your DHgate. I'm not.
But why are they saying that? At the moment they're saying we're not enjoying our time with DHgate. Why are they saying that? Why is a dispute a bad thing?
Because they had a bad experience.
Okay, is the dispute there to help the customer or hinder them? Is the dispute a way for them to take part in the customer protection program, or is the dispute there to steal their money? Is the dispute there to protect them from losing money when buying from China, or is it there to protect them and make sure that they have some sort of safety blanket? It's not the dispute that's the problem, okay? The dispute process, the escrow, the buyer protection, isn't the thing that's making the customer angry, or sad, or annoyed, okay? The thing that's aggravating the customer is the fact that they feel they may be about to lose out. If we confirm, if we back up their feeling, if we say to them, if we throw them a negative frame, or a neutral frame, we're not doing anything to combat that. If we say, hi, it's Moses from DHgate, I hope you're having a good time with us, okay? We're hoping that you're having a good time. They know that my mission is to make sure they're having a good time. We hope that you're enjoying DHgate. It's not a negative thing. And if they are, if they're not having a good time, this is okay. Because we want feedback.
In your country, if you make some trouble, and the customer service will say something to you about that thing.
Yeah.
You will feel it is okay.
Yeah, I think that's fun. because I don't think. Okay, thinking isn't where it happens. This isn't the level that we're talking to people on. We're not affecting people on a conscious level. We're dealing with the subconscious. We're dealing with their inner mind. They might be annoyed, but really what we're doing when we throw the frame is we're putting their subconscious into a positive mindset. We're building up a positivity, like a positive energy within them. And as we step through it, and as we talk to them more and more in positive language, then they become more and more positive. But that's when we use rapport building and empathy to improve our relationship. A lot of the problem, coming back to conflict, is that the customer doesn't distinguish any difference between DHgate and the seller. The reason that they don't see any difference is because they talk to the seller through DHgate. They send their money to DHgate. Every transaction is DHgate. Which makes your job a little bit difficult because, to all intents and purposes, we are the seller.
Maybe the different cultures in Western country. In China, we always first apologize, then resolve the case.
Why apologize?
Apologize again.
Is China that bad that they have to apologize straight away? No, of course not. It's crazy. It's crazy. Look, this has taken years. This has taken 30 years for customer service, customer contact professionals in the West to engineer. This hasn't happened overnight. They haven't just decided, oh, we're going to do this. This has been through trial and error. It's been through commercial research. This has been tested. This is the way we do it. I've seen the transition. I've dealt with some horrific people, as we're going to listen to in a minute. But this works. Cast the throne. You could, I mean, you're right in the sense that you could just redact that sentence. There isn't a need to say it. Okay. My focus, what I'm trying to push, is the use of this specify, stretch, and summarize. Okay? If you take something away from them, if you say I'm going to delete that, it's not a stretch. You're not helping that other person improve. You just say I'm going to delete it. You could say you may want to leave that out, or it may not be the best place to put it. Perhaps that might be a better stretch. I chose a different stretch. I said, right, well what I'd do is I'd make it positive. I hope you're enjoying your experience with DHgate. If they're not, that's okay. If they complain, if they moan, then is that good or bad? If they're not happy with our service and they tell you that they're not happy with our service, is that a good or a bad thing? It's good. We want complaints. We want people to complain to us. People, when they complain, a complaint, okay, let's define this. A complaint is somebody's dissatisfaction with our service. We want complaints because that's when the customer tells us how we can improve as a company. If people didn't complain, we wouldn't know where we need to improve. Okay? Complaints are good. For years, people are going, oh no, it's a complaint. Oh no, it's a complaint. It's a bad thing. No, it's not. So everything is about taking a negative thing and turning it into a positive. Complaints are good. This is how we grow. This is how we develop. This is how we get better. Everybody goes through this. IBM, Amazon, Yojo, Microsoft, BT. Everybody goes through this. They think complaints are bad. They're not. This is how we grow. Okay. But there's no right or wrong answer, okay? You could remove that sentence or put it somewhere else. You wouldn't leave it as it is, you'd make it positive, is the stretch. But to summarise, I like the fact that they used the first name and where they're from to build ownership. I think it could be improved by changing the sentence to use more positive language. Okay. This is what I'm trying to push at the moment, is specify what you think is good, then look at where it could be improved, and then summarise. I want us to try and get used to using this model as opposed to using the praise, criticise, praise. Remove all negativity from the way we do this. As my take on that sentence, if I'm using specify, stretch, summarise. So reading from, however, till today, the seller claimed they had not received the package yet. My specify, I like the amount of detail that they put into this sentence. I think it offers the customer information that they need and that's going to give them and us a social value. The stretch, I think it could be improved by taking out all the facts, order number, what the seller has said, what we've done, and bullet pointing it. That way we can avoid howevers, okay? We just say, so it would read, this is the order number, and from there on, you jump in saying, with bullet points, just bullet point, you can do this, fact, 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 fact. You make an agreement with the seller. You agree to return the items for full refund. All of these bullet points. The next thing, the seller has not received the package yet. We've checked the package online. This is the tracking number. We cannot track it. That way we're avoiding the use of howevers or any time, like till today, yeah. We're avoiding all of that. We're just putting in the fact, 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 in order of when it happens. And that way the customer gets the information clearly, bang, 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 that they want. And we've avoided the chances of using any sort of negative language. Okay? It doesn't have to be built into a sentence. Bear in mind, the customer has other things they want to do. They don't really care about a well-written letter. What they want is the information, and they also want to feel good and that we're meeting their expectations. So that was good. That was really good. Anybody else? Go on, then.
Thanks. I want to give some comments about 5 paragraphs.
Which one's it? Which one's
First,
that?
I want to say it is a good sentence for the banner because it gives them details for the banner. Sorry, for the banner to provide the picture of shipping receipt to protect the banner's benefit. But I think it will better even we change the summaries. That is for our reference. I want to change in order to protect the benefits, or change to in order to make sure you have returned the items. Yours is a good sentence, I think, because it is make the better understand what we need.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. That was excellent. Please do provide. We're talking here, yeah? Is
Paragraph. So could you please?
so could you hear? Sorry. You're right. Okay, let me do this in an S3. I like the fact you picked up on the key points, which was providing the customer with information, given the training that things that we've been talking about, and some of the key aspects. I think it could be even better if we took into account some of the other aspects, like abbreviation bonds. the whole, you really got a grasp of the S3 model and you're using it well. Okay? Go on, you were going to say something.
Yeah. In this paragraph, I want to add my words before, so could you please come take a picture? I added, in order to help you to resolve this case earlier, so could you please?
In the
I
last
think-
part, this you mean in this one here? Here.
Yeah, I added one sentence.
You mean with this question mark?
In order to help you, which means what we need to do that will be help you to resolve this case earlier.
Yeah, okay. You're right. And the fact that we're saying to the customer, we're doing this for you, for your benefit. Yeah? Is that what you mean? As opposed to, you could, I mean, breaking out of S3 for a minute and looking at the English. If I wanted to soften this, I would say, I would perhaps rephrase this as, it would be great if you could take some pictures of the shipping order and send them to me so I can track it for you. Okay? It would be great. It would be amazing. I would be really happy. Okay? If you could take some pictures of the shipping receipt. We've used the word great because when something great happens, you get a sense of euphoria. You're happy. Is anybody aware of something called altruism? Altruism's a behaviour. It's like you get people who are selfish, who just want to do things themselves. The opposite of that is somebody who's altruistic, which means they just do good things for other people for no reward. They just do good things. Most normal human beings have a mixture of selfishness and altruism. We do things that are purely for our own benefit. We do things to help other people for no reward. We do things that are selfish because we gain from it, and it makes us feel better. It feels like we have positions. We do things that are altruistic to help other people because it makes us feel better. They're the two opposites, but we gain the same thing from it. By using a word like great, it's a frame, again. We're suggesting to the customer, to the reader, that if they could do this for us, it would make us feel great. Because of this inbuilt altruism, because of this inbuilt want to do nice things for other people without reward, they're inclined to do it. Okay, you're staring at me. We want to do good stuff for other people. It makes us feel better. Okay. If somebody asks you to do something very small, but they say to you, it would make me feel great, just a little thing, maybe a cup of tea, really make me feel happy, gooey, then we're more inclined to do that because this inner want to do nice things for other people is telling your mind you'll feel good if you do this. If we use the word great here, it would be great if you could just take a picture of the shipping receipt and send it to us. This is very powerful because we're saying to that other person, if you do this little thing for me, it will make you feel really good. Okay, this is really what we're saying. So, I mean, the so is a bit dangerous. It's not, grammatically, it's not quite in the right place. So's tend to separate two parts of the sentences. It's what change in direction in the conversation. If it was me, I'd rephrase this. It'd be great if you could take a picture of the shipping receipt and send it to me, so I could track the shipping for you. I'm going to have a look quickly at this here, which is quite important. How it's significant the way this is framed. Please do provide the pictures within the next 3 business days, just like the pictures in the attachment. If no response from your side, we will assume that the package was lost. We'd release the payment to the seller and close the dispute. What we're doing here is we're threatening the customer. Yeah? This happens. This is born from procedures. Okay, this is what's happened here. The procedure is, look, we need this information. If you can't get it to us, we'll have no choice but to give, because the agreement is between me, you, and the seller. Okay, we've got to be fair to the customer. We've got to be fair to the seller. The procedure has dictated what we're saying to the customer, the buyer in this case. The procedure hasn't got feelings. The procedure hasn't got emotions. Okay, the procedure doesn't think. It's just a procedure. It's a set of rules. So for us to just take the procedure, change the wording, and drop it in, doesn't take into account the emotions and the feelings that the customer will feel. Really, what I would do is change it so it says, I'd put an onus on the need for these pictures. In fact, this sentence here could be used. We could probably get rid of this. We could improve it by merging these two together and say, it would be great if you could provide a picture of the shipping receipt so we can track it. We'll keep it as the same paragraph because we want to keep the context. If possible, or if you could, okay, because we don't want to talk about possible because that questions their ability. If you could, please get them to me within the next 3 working days. If possible, if you could. So we can further progress your inquiry. We shouldn't, we haven't got the entire background on this, so we don't know how long the dispute was outstanding. We want to avoid, under every possible circumstance, giving customers and sellers ultimatums. It's difficult because that's what we deal with. I do it all the time. I say, look, I need this within the next couple of days. I shouldn't do that. It's not a bad thing. It's just a way that we can improve it. There's nothing essentially wrong with this because we're providing the customer with the right information. But it may make them feel a little bit threatened. It may make them feel a little bit like that we're putting pressure on them. I mean, we are. That's exactly what we're doing. We're saying send it in 3 days. Do you know what I mean? We got time to waste. I've got a seller shouting at me from Shenzhen because he wants his money. Do you know what I mean? This is the reality of what's happening. But if we say to a customer, you've got to get it to me within 3 days, it probably isn't going to incline them to work with us. It's doing nothing to build rapport. If anything, it's putting in a barrier. It's weakening our relationship. Okay. Anybody else want to crack at? We've got 3 pages of it here. I don't think it's necessary to go through all 3. I'm going to summarise a few stretches which are common across the entire thing. communication to the customer, there's the use of a lot of pleasers, PLSs. I think we could really improve it by expanding these into please, P-L-E-A-S-E. Yeah, please, use the full thing. Tell the customer we have the time, we have enough time to deal with you as an individual. We're not going to abbreviate. The top line, in fact, before here, this is an important point. The first thing we could have done when talking to this customer is build rapport by using their first name. Now, on Trader, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will have their first name. Okay? It asks, this is a fault with the way that our system works. When people register accounts, they should be asked for their first name, not just for their nickname. Okay? But if you have a look, this guy sent us an email from mark.left@hotmail.co.uk. There's 2 bits of information I can get from that. The first one is the likelihood is their first name is Mark. Okay? In fact, I'm probably happy enough that this guy's called Mark to put Mark in there. Okay? What's the second bit of information that I know? Yeah, where's he from? He's from the UK. Okay? From the UK. Hotmail.co.uk. It's a UK address, so I pretty much can assume that this guy is from the UK. I know we should never assume, but experience dictates that this is more than likely the case. If, under whatever circumstance, we cannot establish their first name, don't use their nickname, alright? But have you seen some of the names people have? They're ridiculous, do you know what I mean? Dear Azkaban prisoner, dear cross-dressing shoe salesperson. This is bizarre, yeah?
But maybe first to write the mails to the customer, you didn't know what's their name.
Sure. We don't, there's a couple of things. There's an old way of doing this. You can approach it as Dear Sir or Madam. Dear Sir or Madam, which is horrible.
May I use dear ID, customer ID?
No.
No.
I wouldn't, because it's impersonal. It's even more impersonal than saying Dear Sir, Dear Madam. Okay? Dear ID number. Dear entity that exists as part of our machine. People hate being part of a machine, yeah? If you assign them a number, Jesus, do you know what I mean? That's even worse. Dear number 477984. We've got your inquiry. No, it's even worse, because you're equating them to not even being
you were me, how did you write?
I'd jump straight in. If I didn't know their name,
when you write first message to your customer,
and I don't know their name,
you don't know their name.
okay, I'd say hi.
Hi. It's informal.
Yeah, massively. Jump off. Why not? You said you don't know them. You've never spoken to them before. You don't know their name. Jump in. Hi. It's Moses from DHgate here.
How about you use dear sir or dear madam in the first message?
It's a bit. The thing is, you can do that, but you're 2 problems. 4 problems. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Okay. Is it a transgender man who prefers to be known as a woman? Is it a transgender woman who prefers to be known as a man? Okay. Now it sounds funny, but in the West, this happens. Yeah. Huh? To who it's made, yeah, that's all right if you're a judge and you're making some order. There's no need to be that formal. If you've never spoken to them before, just go hi. It's Moses from DHgate here. Well, no, use your name. Don't use mine. But why not? What's wrong with saying hi?
Okay, thank you.
No, honestly, no. I'm asking the question. What's wrong with saying hi?
Because we think of
So what?
on my understanding, this is the difference between countries.
Okay, I'll tell you now.
If they, the buyers,
Yeah.
our customers, we will show our respect.
Okay.
So we just want to
You don't need to do that.
use this.
The customer doesn't want you to kiss their ass, yeah? They want you to help them. They want you to be quick, timely, accurate, and professional. Yeah, okay? They don't want you to pretend that you're a character out of a Dickens novel, yeah? They don't want you to be a Victorian gentleman, okay? They don't need this. You can do it. What I would suggest is, I'll send you this copies of correspondence out that I get from large companies like Virgin Media, one of the largest communications companies in the world, Rackspace, the largest managed web hosting company in the world, from banking institutions, large banking institutions. They don't do this. They don't go, "Dear sir, madam." Okay, they go, "Hi, it's whoever from," if they don't have my name. That's how they jump in. They go, "Hi, it's whoever from that." If you get it on an informal level to start with, your conversation will be informal, okay? You'll find it easier to deal with that customer. I know you're worried. You should try it, see how it goes.
No. I just
Hi.
type my voice.
Okay. Negative customers, just on my last point, I just want to play you an example of a negative customer for a company that I used to deal with. Actually, I worked for their competitors, but it was much the same. Now, I'm hoping, okay, it's a bit, the language isn't great. You may, hopefully this will be a talking subject. I'm going to use my laptop speakers because I haven't got any. So we might need to be quiet a little bit. This is an example of a customer that I used to, the sort of customer that the companies I used to deal with used to get regularly. This is a customer who isn't happy, okay? This will become immediately apparent. Just to give you a bit of background, there's a guy calling from BT and he's trying to upsell, he's trying to sell some more products to an existing customer. This should be easy. If they've done customer engagement properly, the customer should be happy to speak to them. This is an example of a customer who hasn't been engaged with the company, who isn't happy with the company. He has no choice but to buy their products because he's locked in to a contract. Okay, this is what happens when you don't engage with customers. Hopefully it's not going to be too rude. In fact, I know it is. There's foul language, so if you're of a weak disposition, so I suggest you put your fingers in your ears. Okay, let's just spin this back a bit. Now, it might be a bit quiet, so you might need to listen louder. Okay.
What the hell do you want?
Mrs. Carter,
What the hell do you want?
we're calling today to ensure you're getting the best value and service. BT have got an offer to
This
you.
fucking phone call up your pissing ass and get me off this. This is an ex-directory phone and now includes fucking British Telecom.
Okay.
We pay the fucking bills, now get the fuck off my phone line. Do you understand?
I understand, sir.
Good.
Right.
Well, make sure it's fucking written down and don't ring me again.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll come and swing your scrawny fucking neck and I mean physically.
No problem.
Do you comprehend?
Yeah, all it takes is a couple of seconds.
I'll cause you to go and fuck off.
No problem.
Do you comprehend?
Yeah, no problems. Thank you for your
Good.
time.
Don't ever ring again.
Right. Thank you for your time then, sir. Thank you for using BT.
Okay, that was a real call. Has anybody had one of them? No? Have you ever had? That's him asking his manager to listen to that call again. Has anybody? If you get it wrong, if you get customer service wrong, if you get customer engagement wrong, this is what happens. Okay. And to be fair, nowadays it's not even that much of an extreme. of an example. This is fairly common. Customers are aware of their value to organisations and they don't want to be messed around. So really just to impress the importance of why engagement is, why we're concerned about engagement and also the value. Now I did promise you, in the West, certainly in England and in the US, most companies, for a long time, companies have been working hard to change the way that they can speak to customers. If you go back 100 years, okay, which isn't that long, it's not that long, 100 years ago, the way companies talked to their customers was very different. Okay, they were in the mindset of dear sir or madam, dear sir, dear madam. It is with regret that I write to inform you whatever, or it is with whatever. And they used a style of English which was very formal, very respectful. I suppose you could call it respectful. But it was born from a different culture. At that time, society was still, it was monarchical. Okay? It was, there were three distinct social groups. You had the upper classes, who were typically landed gentry, so lords, ladies, members of the royal family, people with a lot of wealth, people who owned a lot of land, people with titles, barons, that sort of thing. Then you had the middle classes, who weren't aristocrats, but they had a reasonable amount of money, they had some property, they had good jobs, so the middle classes would have been things like bankers, for instance, merchants. And then you had the working class, who were the lowest group in the social structure, who were typically working class jobs with things like, say, miners, some farmers, tanners. I don't know, do you know what a tanner is? Tanners make leather. They scrape the dead flesh off animal hides to make leather for shoes and coats and stuff. It wasn't a very nice job, very smelly. So they were the people. There was people in those sort of industries who were the working class. But at that time in Western society, it was felt proper that you should address these people in the middle class and the upper classes with a certain amount of formality that they expected. 100 years on, a lot of this has changed. Okay, there's no longer a monarchy as such. Okay, there's no longer a structure of upper class, middle class, and lower class like it used to exist. What's happened is members who were in the lower classes have, through socialist movements like socialised healthcare, education, have developed an education, and then over time they've gone on to university, and then they've gone and got professional jobs like engineering, for instance, that's put them in the middle class. When they've had children, those children are automatically born into the middle class, and they've sort of progressed along that line as well. So what's happened is people have generally sort of moved up. There's been a complete, before you might have had, I don't know if this is what it's designed for, but we'll see if it works. What? Okay, before, what happened was, and this is important to the why we can say hi to people now. Imagine, this is society. You've got an upper class here, you've got a middle class, and you've got a lower class. Yeah? And it's a question of wealth. Okay, how much money have you got? How much land have you got? Decides on what group you go into. This is sort of circa 1900, so around 1900. Okay. Moving to the present day, like the 21st century that we're in now, yeah. What's happened is the upper classes here have got smaller, like that. Okay. The middle class has stayed about the same, and unfortunately the lower class has actually grown a bit. Okay. There are more poorer people now, relative than there are middle class in the UK. That's probably a slight exaggeration. It's probably more like that. What's happened is, though, in society, in the way that we speak to each other, where before there was like an upper class could speak down to the middle class could speak down to the lower classes, yeah? This doesn't exist anymore. People speak to other people, they don't care about the class. In fact, there's rivalry. Before, there's a phrase, I don't know, it's a bit crude, but you might have heard of it, shit rolls downhill. Okay. That means that anything bad always moves down the chain. The upper class would talk down to the middle class would talk down to the lower class have nowhere to go. This is talk, yeah? What's happened now, through sort of freedom, the fact that through the democracy and through the fact that people see themselves as people as opposed to being members of social classes, is these people don't talk to anybody anymore, okay? Nobody really wants to talk to them, they're a bit embarrassing. The middle class try and speak down to the working class. The working class are now, there's conflict, there's debate, like war. They sort of conflict against each other. To the extent that in popular culture, it was regarded as being a bit crap if you were middle class. People preferred to be seen as being working class. Okay? Yeah, people say, what's the point? Because if you're working class, you haven't got much land, you haven't got the money. It's a change in society. If you were a member of the working class, you were seen as being good, honest people. Yeah? Because typically within this group, the middle class, you've got things like politicians. You've also got dentists, lawyers. Yeah? These sort of professions are middle class professions. And people don't like those professions. Okay? In the UK, people don't like the politicians because they lie. Alright? They say they're going to do one thing, they do something else. This is UK politicians for you. Okay? There are very few. I know 2 good politicians that I trust. They're an area of ridicule. We have something called satire, which is a type of comedy where we take where we make jokes of the politicians. And they're just, if you're a politician and you do something wrong, so that may be you're found sort of claiming expenses for ridiculous things like a moat around your house. You're found to be having an affair with your secretary, be the secretary male or female. You do some, you make a ridiculous gaffe, like, you've all seen the photographs of the politicians going into the number 10, the Black Door, where the UK Prime Minister was. There was a spate of security ministers, people who deal with like national security, police officers, head police officers, sort of walking in. Outside number 10, you've got loads of photographers with huge lenses. Politicians going in with their notes under their arms, and the newspaper photographer would take a photograph of this document, and it was like the anti-terrorism strategy and stuff like that, you know, official secrets, state secrets that should be kept under wraps, but they're just walking down the street with them, anybody could see. They have a habit of doing this, and when they do this, it's perfectly acceptable now in UK and in generally Western culture to then go, right, I'm now going to take the mickey out of you, I'm going to make a joke of you, okay? It's the way it is. 100 years ago, you'd never have done this, really. It was only just starting to come in with social democracy. Dentists. People don't like dentists in the UK anymore because they used to be free. Dentists used to be free. Then they decided that they wanted to make more money and they started charging people. So now people don't like the dentists. Okay, that's what dentists are out. Lawyers, when you get in trouble, at some point you're going to be involved with a lawyer. Okay. On the prosecution, the people who are trying to send you to prison or whatever, or get money out of you, there will be a lawyer. Lawyers are seen as fat cats. They're people with a qualification that you need in order to do something legally. Okay, get planning permission for a building, claim compensation because you tripped up and banged your knee. But they sit in the middle between you and what you want and take money. Okay, so people aren't happy with lawyers. There's a third group, estate agents, who are much like lawyers. Estate agents are people who, when you're looking for a house, you go to the estate agent, they find a house, they show you around. They do the same. They take money off you for no reason, for showing you around their house. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So these sort of jobs are well grounded in the middle classes. The working class don't have these jobs. But everybody hates these sort of, the idea of these people that take stuff from you and from society. So even members of the middle class would prefer to be known in some situations as working class because they don't want to be associated with these people. All right? It's a bit mixed up. Coming full circle, now when we talk to people, okay, people in society, customers, don't necessarily feel that they should be spoken to in this way. Okay? Some of them in this group like to be referred to as Mr. or Doctor or Professor. Do you know, if they've got some special salutation. I know a lot of people within universities, academics, professors, doctors, that sort of stuff. Most of them hate being called Doctor, Professor, or whatever. Yeah, they just don't. They just think, oh, just shut up. Just call me John. Right? they really hate it. It's just something that's been forced on them. But there's very few people in this group now who want to be called Mr. or Mrs. Okay, or who care. They're much more liberal. The 50s happened, and then the 60s happened. Okay, does anybody know anything about popular culture in the 60s in the West? There was you get a social group called hippies, a bit of a derogatory term, who were members of society who weren't that bothered about going out, getting the education, going into industry, getting a good home, having a family, retiring. They were more interested about going out, enjoying themselves. Okay, so you've got things like the Summer of Free Love, which was essentially a big social party where people took lots of psychotropic drugs and had sex with lots of different people. Okay, this was a fundamental change in society in the West, not because of the effect it had on society then, but because the people who were involved have now gone on to be parents. They are now the parents of today's society. So they've had this mentality whilst they were young. They've gone, oh, hold on, I've run out of money, I can't do this anymore. They've grown up a bit, got jobs, they've gone on to become professionals. Then they've had children. And it's their children who are society now, who are going to be your customers. So those children have grown up with a mentality completely different from anything we had 100 years ago. They're much more liberal. They're much more easygoing. They're much more relaxed. And that's why you can say to somebody in an email, hi, it's Moses from DHK. They don't expect to be called Mr. or Mrs. Okay. Does that answer your questions? Or? No. Oh, right, sorry about that. Society, I think, do you know, perhaps in other countries when you learn about English society, you get given a load of information that's out of date. That it's not, it may have applied 50, 60 years ago. It's not true anymore. You can show, plus you can show people respect without having to call them Mr. or Mrs. People are just happier if they get good service. They don't really care. I dare say you could probably go and you could probably, even as long as you offered a good enough service, turn around and call somebody a fool. And still provide a good service, and they'll be fairly happy with it, and as long as they get the service that they're after. Has anybody, just out of interest, anybody been to the UK? No? It's my understanding is it's partly everything you want it to be, from what you perceive the UK being, Buckingham Palace and all sorts of stuff. And then the second half is an utter disappointment, because people have an idea of England and the UK through popular media, films, like maybe from things like Fred Astaire to films like, was it Love Actually? Do you know, with what's his name? Floppy hair. He's an idiot. He's the embodiment of the English gentleman. I can't remember his name. Anyway, everybody thought he was, you know, he epitomised. He was the embodiment of an English gentleman, you know, nicely dressed and speaking with a posh accent. And then, you know, when he went into the films, and a couple of years later, he was found with a prostitute in the back of his car in LA, and he was in a huge amount of trouble. But it's these characters in films and whatnot that create this bizarre, very old, very turn of the century idea of what the UK is like. That they're all full of gentlemen and ladies, and everything's prim and proper. It hasn't been like that for years. Sorry to break your illusions. Top hat, yeah. Paint. Yeah. And white gloves. Yeah. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
200 years ago.
Maybe, yeah, 150. People just aren't like that. The film, the media have created this illusion. Even our cousins in America who come over expecting, you know, white canes, top hats and all this sort of stuff, they leave sorely disappointed because it just doesn't exist. Because people now are moving from this idea here. English society has moved on from this, even to the extent where I think really this line is disappearing. There's no more. Do you know, what's the film with the chimney sweep? Mary Poppins? Do you know the film I mean? Do you know Mary Poppins? It's about quite an old film. It's got Dick Van Dyke in it. It's about a chimney sweep. Do you know chimney sweeps? They were usually little boys who would get sent up chimneys. A chimney in a house. Yeah, so if you have a fire, yeah. All right. Chimney sweeps were little boys with brushes who used to get sent up chimneys to clean them.
那以前有本书是好像那个小孩不是打扫烟囱的那个教育，就是打扫那个有个烟，他在那烟囱里爬来爬去，专门打扫。
It wasn't a nice job, okay? And in fact, exploitative, very much illegal now. You could never get away. But chimney sweeps were normally homeless young boys or boys without any sort of family, or maybe their parents were in prison, who just get pulled off the street and sent up the chimney. But there was this film, Mary Poppins, it was about a chimney sweep growing up and getting into jail. But he was Dick Van Dyke was what we call the stereotype of a Cockney. A Cockney is a type of, is an English person from a specific area in London. Okay, and they use things. Have you ever heard of Cockney rhyming slang? It's where you get two words that when put together sound like the thing you mean. So like apple and pears. I'm going up the apple and pears. I'm going up the stairs. Okay. I'm on the dog and bone. Phone. Okay. Everybody for a while thought English people were either top hats and canes or Cockneys. All right. Because of these films. When people come to the UK to experience the culture, do you know what I mean? It's not that at all. It just doesn't happen. So I think sometimes when you feel a bit of trepidation, when you feel you're not quite sure whether or not you can do this and you need to keep a formality with the customer, I think a lot of it is largely misplaced because the world seems to think England is a lot different from what it actually is. It's probably the English Tourist Board doing a very good job. They've done an amazing marketing job at keeping the rest of the world in this imagination that England's top. Yeah, so people travel to England and visit for tourism. Maybe.
So what about the job of actually CE?
CE? What do you mean?
Let's see, customer service.
Customer engagement?
Yeah.
What, you mean this?
It is job in UK.
Customer engagement. CE, customer engagement, isn't a job in the UK. It's like a requirement of everybody in the company. It's not just customer service people. It's everybody from manufacturing to salespeople to people who work in finance, people who do media, marketing, PR, people who come in and clean the toilets. Customer engagement is everybody needs to be aware of. It's like customer service. It affects everybody. And when you do your induction, do you know you have induction training? In fact, there's something happening now. When you start at a company and you get your training, your initial starter training, customer engagement, customer service is drilled into you. Okay. As soon as you get a job, as soon as you leave school, you go get a job. It's drilled into you. If you move jobs, lots, you get bored of customer engagement and customer service training because every time you start in a new company, they drill it into you. It's that important. The companies know that you've probably already had it, but it's so important to the company that they spend the time and the resource doing it again just to make sure that you know about customer engagement.
Did you miss the family in China?
I'm a bit. I speak to them. It's not too bad. 6 months. It's not too bad. I mean, there are some things. It's like I've got a new nephew. I left the UK in March. My newest nephew was born in May. So I've not seen him yet. So by the time I get back, he's going to be growing up a bit, I guess. So, you know, there's little things like that. But it's not too bad.
Well, you talk about the UK, you feel exciting and about you see some culture of the UK and you feel very exciting.
What about the UK?
Yeah.
How can I put this? If
proud of your country.
Okay. Although I grew up in the UK, I don't regard myself as being from the UK. I come from an Irish background. Grew up in the UK. Okay. Now, I don't know how good you are at international politics, but England and Ireland don't really get along very well. Are you aware of the problem that we have? Very quickly. Okay. We've been fighting each other for 800 years, alright? You get a very rough picture there of... Okay, that's the UK, yeah? Here's Ireland. They're next to each other. It's a bit like Japan and China. We have been... England is here, yeah? Okay, Wales is here. Wales is a separate country. Scotland is here. Scotland is a separate country. Cornwall, no? Anybody know Cornwall? Cornwall's down here. Cornwall used to be a separate country. Technically still is. If you're from Cornwall and you say, is Cornwall a separate country, they'll probably go, yes. But it was taken over by the English so long ago, people don't remember. England took over Scotland, took over Wales, tried to take over Ireland. We were a bit too much for them to handle, so they didn't quite manage it, but they did manage to get a bit at the top, which sometimes is called Northern Ireland. More correctly, it should be called the North of Ireland, because we don't see that as being a part of England. This has been an area of debate. We've been fighting each other for a while for it. Generally, we're winning the English. Interestingly enough, the Scots up in the north and the Welsh over in the west have started, they rule themselves now again. There's what you call a devolution of power. Before, everything used to be run from London down here, from Parliament. And Parliament would say to Scotland what they need to do, would say to Wales what they need to do. In the last 10 years, Scotland has its own Parliament, with Scottish people running Scotland, pretty much. Wales has its own Parliament, with Welsh people deciding on what Wales is going to do. Scotland recently, a guy called Salmond, a member of Parliament, a Scottish member of Parliament, said, right, well, Scotland wants to go independent altogether. Okay, we don't want anything to do with England anymore. Which is sort of interesting, because Scotland doesn't really manufacture a lot. They don't really have any income. Apart from over here in the North Sea, a bit of sea, up there, there's a load of oil and gas. Okay. Which would make Scotland quite wealthy. So I'm thinking Scotland's, Richard Salmond, I think he said, oh, we want independence. And everybody in England's going, you know, that's ridiculous, you're not going to have any money. It separates, and then they get all the oil and gas, which would be quite funny. The likelihood of this happening, it's unlikely. But it's not it's not like, when I talk about the conflict, the Welsh don't really like the English. The Scots don't really like the English. The Irish aren't really that happy with the English. The people in the north of Ireland either don't like the south and the English, or don't like the Scots and the English. And then to make things worse, down here, does anybody know what that country is going to be?
France.
France. Now, do the French like the English or not?
No.
No. Okay, so on a friendship level, England isn't doing too well. Okay, they're gradually losing bits. At one point, sort of just before the 50s, it was all about empire. Do you know what I mean? But put me away. In Victorian England, or Great Britain as they used to call it, Britannia, used to own 3/4 of the world. It's all gone to shit. They've realised that now. They've given all these countries back to the rightful owners, as they should do. India, Hong Kong, for instance. That was only about 20 years ago. Though. Bits of South America, other bits in the Middle East, bits of Gibraltar, for instance, Malta, England, Scotland, Wales, loads of places in Africa. So Great Britain is sort of just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, but it's a good thing. My own reasons aside, it's a good thing, because whilst Great Britain had all these separate places, these different, where they laid claim to these different countries, it created something called the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth was a nicer way of saying countries under the rule of Great Britain. Now, as a result of the Second World War, and the Commonwealth, politicians in the UK said, because of domestic disturbances, political problems, and threats to various societies, members of the Commonwealth, so people from other countries, say in Africa, in India, in South America, people who are from a Commonwealth country can come to the UK and live in the UK. Okay? A lot of people didn't like that in the UK. This was around about the 40s and 50s. Very, very sort of racist attitudes. They didn't want people from the West Indies, so places like Jamaica, Dominican Republic, coming over, because of the colour of their skin was different. Yeah, they didn't feel that they should be integrated. All of this, we've grown up a bit now, and there's lots of isms that you can't do. Racism is one of them. So being prejudiced about somebody from a different country. Sexism, showing somebody different opportunities or treating them differently based on their gender. So treating a woman differently, treating a man differently. Ageism, treating somebody differently because of their age, okay, is illegal. These are all illegal. You can't do these in the UK anymore, which is right. What else? There's also something called technologyism. And this is something to kick politicians up the arse. It says you shouldn't unfairly prevent people from being able to connect to the internet. Because there's lots of rural areas, there's lots of farming areas in the UK. And only the cities have access to the internet. But because the internet is such a fundamental thing for us now in the West, it was decided that people were being discriminated against who live in rural areas. because telephone companies would find it expensive to put in loads of cable just for one person who lives out in the wilds. It's now almost illegal, I think. The law's a bit grey. For a telecoms company to say, no, we're not going to put a cable out there to you because it's too far away and there's only one of you. They have to connect these people. There's lots of huge differences. Some bizarre laws, some interesting ones. But the good thing about us growing up and having this Commonwealth, and these people come from lots of different countries, is that the UK now is a multicultural country. That means that we have, 100 years ago, for instance, if we look at religion, it was a Christian country. Now it's not. Now it's multicultural. Now there isn't a religion, one religion within the UK. There's Christianity, there's Islam, there's Judaism, there's Buddhism, there's Sikhism. Yeah, we have lots of different people who have come from different places in the world who have come together. Okay, and as children are growing up now, they're starting to forget that there's any difference between people, which is a significant change. It's been difficult. There's been a lot of problems with us getting to this point. There's been a lot of hurt, there's been a lot of anger. But we're now at a point where it's unacceptable, socially unacceptable, to behave towards people in a different way because they're from a different culture, from a different background. Which is nice, you know, but it does come with its own problems. But society, it's interesting. It works. We get free healthcare, so I'm not moaning. That's one thing that came out of social democracy. I don't really want to concentrate on politics here, but if you wanted to get a feeling for society, I'd suggest, instead of watching British films and stuff like that, you watch British TV. You watch things like Newsnight, the politics show, the One Show, what else? Channel 4 programs. Things that aren't works of fiction. Things that are more like documentaries. Okay? Things that tell you about society. Don't watch the films and stuff if you want to understand it. Oh, incidentally, if you want to watch satire, I recommend you watch a program called Have I Got News For You? Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, it's set up to take the piss out of politicians and famous people. You'll love it. And this explains how society is focused, how there's this mentality that there's a change in the mentality of society where people in this group are now starting to appreciate that these people work for them. It's not the other way around. Okay, so they satire is an important part of British culture. If you want to understand the way Westerners think, English, the French, the German, Portuguese, the Italians, they all do it. You need to look at satire and sort of understand how it gives you a good meter, a good measure of what's acceptable within the culture and what isn't acceptable. That's a shocking drawing.